let's take a look then at some of the other drivers that did incredibly well. And it's hard to look past Carlos Sainz, isn't it? Because, I mean, what a drive from him. He was on the podium in third place in Azerbaijan, and he's back on there now. And I don't know whether he would have expected that in his first season at Williams, because we know what he's been through. We saw on Drive to Survive the heartache he had when he had to make way for Lewis Hamilton. And Williams was the best choice he had on the table, and probably not the choice he would have wanted to have gone to.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know how vocal I can be about some of the drivers in Formula One. Have been on this podcast a few times. Carlos is someone I cannot criticize. I think he is a fantastic driver. He's proven that time and time again. There were a couple of lumps and bumps when he was at Ferrari that didn't quite work his way, and I do think it was the right decision for Ferrari. You know, when you get the chance to get Lewis Hamilton, that obviously it has to be Sainz to go in. It was the grace that he took that with that almost made me become a proper out and out Carlos Sainz fan, because he took it with such maturity. And like you say, he's signed for Williams at the start of the year, and maybe that's not a team that he wants to drive. Obviously, he wants to be driving for Ferrari. But he's taken that Williams now have a really solid lineup, in my opinion, between Carlos and Alex. And they've proven that all the way through this season. A car which very clearly is not a massively competitive force in Formula One. Don't get me wrong, it's not an awful car, realistically speaking, but it's not a car which is going to get you a championship or anything like that. The fact they've come out of it with a couple of podiums for Carlos is amazing. The fact they've now secured fifth in the Constructors' Championship, I think that is a huge achievement. James Vowles was very emotional on the radio as well to Carlos at the end of the race, almost brought a tear to my eye. I think it's amazing. I think it's a really good story seeing Carlos on the podium here.
We'll get back to this video in just a second, but first I want to talk to you about this. This is the Nextbase Pico, and this will keep you and other people safe on the roads this festive period. It's a connected compact dash cam which will record every single journey you make in high definition, and they've got a cheeky little offer going on at the moment which I think you will like. Now, we know what people are like on the roads. We've all been driving to see friends and family and got cut up by someone, and maybe you're going to a racetrack and you're going to go and watch the professionals do it, and there's probably a lot of professionals not out there on the motorways of the UK. Well, look, this will record everything in high definition, sharp detail. There is a 1K and a 2K version, so whatever happens, it means you've got evidence for whatever goes on the roads. It's not just about the footage though. The Pico's packed with smart safety features that every driver needs, and of course it's from the UK's leading dashcam brand, which was recently crowned Trusted Review's best dashcam of 2025. It's super compact. Even I can install it and you won't even notice it on your windscreen. Now pair it with the Nextbase app, set it up, control it from there. It couldn't be simpler for you. There's even a smart parking feature that keeps an eye on your car while you're away, automatically recording if it detects any movement or impact. And trust me, my car just got hit by something in the wind and I'm livid because I didn't have a dash cam installed. Now, if the worst does happen, the emergency SOS system can alert emergency services and share your exact location to help you get help faster. And with Witness Mode Lite, you can quickly alert a friend or family member if you feel unsafe on the road, which is definitely something I reckon parents should be thinking about. And with prices starting at under £100, it's pretty obvious that this would make a fantastic stocking filler this festive period. And actually, you can save yourself 40 quid because between the 6th of November and the 3rd of December, you will get that amount off, making this £59 for the 1K version, which means you could probably put that 40 quid towards going and watching some UK racing. Loads of winter racing going on, which I'm sure you'll have a great time at. You could also treat your family to a meal, but let's face it, just look after yourself. So protect your journeys with confidence this festive season. Visit the Nextbase website for more information, and also pop into Halfords, Argos, Currys and other retailers today. Stay safe, stay connected and enjoy the road ahead.
Yeah, I think you have to look at what James Vowles has done there. For him, you know, he's jumped ship from a very successful team to then go and lead the resurgence in Williams, who, you know, I think if you grew up, certainly when I grew up watching F1 in the 90s, you probably have a soft spot. If not, you support Williams because of what they achieved back then. And, you know, synonymous with Damon Hill, for example, when we spoke to him at the F1 exhibition, you know, you could see his race suits there. And it was kind of, it made me remember being a kid watching F1. And to watch him go in there and sort of turn this struggling team around, obviously a lot of money and investments come with that, but you need a strong leader. And he seems like the kind of guy, and I've been lucky enough to chat to him a couple of times on this channel. He is a guy that seems very straight with people, and I can imagine, and we saw a little bit of it on Drive to Survive, how he negotiated with Carlos Sainz and how he positioned everything to Carlos Sainz. And I think Carlos, you know, it was I was going to say a leap of faith. Carlos didn't have many choices on the table, but I think he will be surprised by what they've achieved. The big question is now going into the new regulations in 2026 and having had this success, how they move on. I mean, do you have any sort of thoughts on how Williams progress from here? They've got the drivers, they've got the team principal, they've certainly got a lot of expertise, and they've got financial backing now, but it's quite hard to make that next jump and be even further competitive to the podium most of the time because we have quite a lot of close racing.
But generally speaking, the easiest time to make that jump, relatively speaking, is in regulation changes. So I could Williams are one of those teams where you can definitely see them making the right call in the regulations and jumping their way forward. But then for them to jump forward, someone else has to jump backwards. And who would that be? Does that mean that McLaren aren't going to make a good car next season? Is they're going to drop? But that's the thing of Formula One, is that the underdogs rise to the top and then become the winning force. Someone else has to fall in with that. Now, you could say in recent times that has been McLaren. In the current generation, they started it out with arguably the worst car of all of the 10 on the field in 2022, and they've ended this regulation with the best car, or certainly between them and Red Bull have been the best car the last couple of years. I think it's definitely been the McLaren the last 2 years as the best car. Someone's going to make those jumps. We just don't know who that team's going to be. There's a lot of people and finger pointing that maybe this is what Lewis Hamilton has seen when he signed for Ferrari, because obviously that's what happened with Mercedes when he signed in 2013, 2014, the regulation change.
Some would argue, Lewis. Some would argue that his recent demeanour and him saying he's not looking forward to next year would suggest he's not seen what he wants to see more recently. So he may have what he's been promised may not have come to fruition. Do you agree?
I do. I can see that Ferrari struggling again. I don't. I like the Ferrari team. I like who they've got in it. When it comes to the drivers, how the team's managed and stuff. I think there's a lot of positives there. But I think, much like some other places in sport and stuff, just because you've got a load of really good ingredients doesn't mean that the team's going to be great. And I think that's the problem that Ferrari have, is that there's something in there which isn't quite right, and no one could put their finger on exactly what it is. And with that being the case, it's kind of infecting the whole team, where they're all basically down a whole step on where they really should be.
Yeah, you're referring to the cake there, which is a good point to shout out James Headley, former FIA F3 driver, who very much explained the cake to me as a racing driver. And it's basically, if you've got all the ingredients, you can make a good cake. But if one of the ingredients is, I think he described it as something that you might find on a pavement after a dog's walk past, then the cake's not going to be very good. And that makes perfect sense. Obviously, with Ferrari then, Charles Leclerc coming 8th, Lewis Hamilton coming 12th. There was one moment where the chap I watched this with in the bar in Manchester sort of celebrated because Lewis Hamilton had made up a place, and that was because Isaac Hadjar got a puncture and he'd dropped back down. And I think then he realised and went, oh, okay. He thought he'd overtaken someone, but unfortunately it was through someone else's misfortune. I noticed in the interview that Charles Leclerc did after the race that he almost seems to have caught the kind of vibe of Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc's normally at least diplomatic, but he looked pretty dejected. And they were saying, you want a good performance to end the season on a high. And he was like, yeah, I kind of want to go on my holiday feeling good about things. And I imagine, much like Lewis, he can't wait for this season to end. But if they have seen something behind the scenes that suggests that the Ferrari car isn't going to be good next year, big questions on whether Charles Leclerc has to make a big decision. I'm not entirely sure when his contract is up. I'm sure it's probably long-term at Ferrari, but he's going to want to win a world championship at some point. And every year he's getting further and further away from that. If Adrian Newey's made an amazing car at Aston Martin and they need to replace Fernando Alonso after the end of next year, he's a pretty good choice.
Absolutely. And I think Charles Leclerc's a quality driver. I made this point a couple of years ago that some, especially at the start of this regulation of car, somehow between Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, they seem to just mess up races more than any other car team combo. Now that's less so this year because I think they've been in contention for a lot less. But there was a point where when Charles it would have been in 2022, where either the car would fail, the team would fail on strategy, or Charles would bin it. And it was a very frustrating time to kind of watch that. And I'm sure even even for those diehard Ferrari fans, it was very difficult. But obviously, he's a quality driver, and like you say, he has got that base formula to become a world champion. I don't think many people have the doubt. He's got the speed, he's got the consistency, but I fear that each year goes by with the team not being there to kind of give him a race winning, a championship contending car, that his mentality falters that little bit more, and that little bit more that maybe one time when they do have the car available, that mentally he won't be. And that is a fear that a lot of drivers have come across in their careers, I'm sure, where they're ready at completely the wrong time, and then they're just not able to do it.
When you say about McLaren having 2 number 1 drivers, Ferrari also have, I know Charles is probably their favourite, but they have 2 number 1 drivers, i.e. they have 2 drivers that can win the championship. The difference is in McLaren is if you've got 2 drivers that actually have a chance of winning the championship, and at Ferrari you've got 2 drivers that haven't got a hope of winning the championship, which is a whole new situation.